Let's face it, Lightroom is getting really expensive, and for those photographers just starting out, it might be a cost you guys can't quite justify right now. But what if I were to tell you that there is an app or a program that is similar to Lightroom, not as expensive, where you can get a lifetime license for the same price as 1 year on Adobe? And that subscription covers all your devices. If you know me, you know that I hate subscriptions. And I know there's always gonna be a platform that forces you into their subscription model and you really can't get away from it. But when I do see the opportunity to buy a lifetime license to something or buy the software straight up, I almost always do, especially if I know I'm gonna use it. A few years ago, I tried out a program called Photomator, and it was good, but I always felt like Lightroom was one step ahead or multiple steps ahead at the time. And so I just continued using Lightroom. There was no point of moving and changing my entire workflow over to this when it wasn't quite good enough. But I always hoped that this app would become a great alternative to Lightroom. And recently I came across it again, known as Photomator, and it has become as good as Lightroom. Now, this video is not sponsored. Nobody is paying me to make this video. And it's funny, I actually did reach out to them to see if they wanted to sponsor this video, and they shut me down. But I still wanted to make this video because I know it's going to save a lot of people a lot of money. So let's dive in and show you what Photomator is all about. I have a few different raw files here from various cameras. We've got Hasselblad, we have Canon, and one important thing to note is that this is not like Lightroom. You don't have to create multiple catalogs for every shoot or however your workflow is. This is kind of based off the Photos app. So you can see if I go over to like albums, these are actually a lot of the photo albums that I have on my phone that I hardly ever use, but importing photos is super easy. All you have to do is click the plus button at the top here, go into your folder where your photos are. We'll bring in this photo of Taha. And if I wanted to, it kind of throws it into like my all photos here, but I can really just go in here, right click, and click add to favorites, or in the bottom right, you'll see add to favorites here. And then if we go over to my favorites category, we can see it. Actually a really, really nice layout. I think I prefer it a little bit more than Lightroom for like aesthetics and the look of it and simplicity, but Lightroom is definitely a lot more powerful, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So let's go right into this photo that I took of Taha in Vegas. This is the raw file straight out of the Hasselblad. You can see the resolution right here. So in the top right, you can see that we have all of our adjustments right here. The first one, the magic wand with the ML letters. Anything that you see that's ML, that's AI machine learning. And so this is kind of like an auto AI, adjustment. So we click on it, you can see the adjustment that it made. You don't have to use it. To the right of that, we have this Band-Aid, which is the repair tool, which I think we're all familiar with. Clone stamp tool. We have the crop tool with various different crops. Our perspective tool. We have auto crop and auto straighten. These also both use AI to help with that. On the right, we have our actual adjustments and probably the most important part of this software. To the right of that, we have these three dots, which there's a little bit more settings hidden in here. A lot of settings that are actually workflows, which we'll also get into. Things like super resolution are in here, denoise. So we'll dive into our adjustments window here. And this is essentially what you would get in Lightroom. You have your white balance, you have your basic tab with your exposure, highlights, shadows, all of that. You have selective clarity, which is actually really cool. Instead of having a global clarity slider, those are split into shadows, midtones, and highlights. Levels, which we don't have in Lightroom, but we have in Photoshop. Again, just gives you more control over your image. Right now in Lightroom, if you wanted to change the color of something, you have to do that in the HSL tab, but even in the HSL tab, you can only move those sliders so much. Like, you can only make the reds more orange. You can't change reds to something like blue, and you could do that here. So let's say I grab the color picker and we drop, his purple shirt or jersey here. We can change that to, let's say, orange, right? Now he's wearing an orange jersey. This is super, super powerful if you know how to use it properly. And again, you can adjust the intensity here, so you can make it look obviously a little bit more realistic. And you can also adjust the range. So if you want all the way 100%. Like, it's gonna find purples and everything, or you can kind of just tone that down to just the jersey. Now, the cool thing about all of these adjustments is that you can work within layers. So you'll see at the very top, it says raw layer. Here we can click on the add layer button. This is where you'll do all of your masking. So you'll have all the masking tools that you're familiar with in Lightroom here, so you're not really missing out there. But you can also add an adjustment layer. And in that adjustment layer, you can basically do everything you want to do here. You can work within these layers, which gives you a lot more flexibility when editing your photos. And lastly, at the very bottom, you have all of these colorful looking presets. And these are built into Photomator. And some are actually really cool, especially in that CN. I don't know what these stand for. Oh, right there, cinematic. Revert this back to original here. And we'll quickly edit this photo. So usually I like dropping the highlights. Increase the brightness. A little bit of contrast. Clarity, usually I like bringing this down for portraits, but only because I don't like the global clarity effect that happens for portraits, because it's not pleasing to our subject. But in this case, I can actually use selective clarity, and if I don't want it to affect our subject, I can actually just go into the shadows and increase clarity. And actually, I could go into the midtones where, you know, it's going to affect our subject. I could dial this down a little bit just to give it that little bit of softness. Again, very nice that you can get really selective with where you want these adjustments made. Hue and saturation, I'm really not going to touch it all that much. The colors coming out of the Hasselblad just look beautiful and super accurate, so I'm not going to make any adjustments there. Levels, if you've never used them, they're actually pretty simple to use. You can see that this is basically our histogram right here. In the top left, we have our histogram. It looks the exact same as right here. You're really just shifting the range of where the black shadows, highlights, and whites fall in your image. So I can actually just grab this and just move it over to the right. And it tells us right there, 40%. And it actually shows a little line here showing us how much, of that photo we're actually getting. If we go too much, it's gonna get crazy. Somewhere about there looks fine. We have our curves, typically, again, a little S curve I like doing to bring a little bit more contrast in the image. We are gonna sharpen it up a little bit. So maybe to like 3, which I found is like a nice area, and then just drop the intensity to like 15. If I zoomed in here, you can see just how sharp the Hasselblad photos are. Also, just the UI of this, software, it's super, super smooth. Now, if I like all of these adjustments that we've done, I can go over to our custom filter area, just click plus, and we created our own preset. So now I can rename this preset, and I can export that as a LUT, a cube file, which is very, very nice. So if I go and I actually revert this photo back to original, go to the adjustments, we have our preset. I can just click on this. We're back to where we were. Now I do a lot of masking in my photos, so we can go up to here. We can select our subject, which is a great place to start. And typically just like to increase the exposure a little bit in the shadows. Not too much, or else it, starts looking fake. And then we'll go back in here. We'll select the background, and we'll just drop this a little bit. I'll add another mask, which is usually just like an overall radial mask. Here, again, increasing the exposure, but I'm getting a lot more of that background too. Now if we check the before and now the after, I would say we made really good progress. Top pops a lot more. The photo looks really good. Last thing I like to do is just clean up my photo and get rid of a lot of distractions. And I like to do that using the remove tool. And so if we just go over it, something like this, and it actually doesn't lag as much as Lightroom does. I don't know if it's just my computer, but there we go. Final photo. We can crop it if we want to. We can also do a custom crop. And so if I wanted to, let's say, do an X-Pan crop on here, I can go 65 by 24 and crop it something like that, which actually looks incredible for this photo. If we wanted to export it, 3 dots, and just click on export. These are export settings. We can go JPEG, quality 100, original. We can set a cool custom frame on here that Lightroom doesn't have. We have viewfinder, which looks very, very cool. We have watermark if we want to watermark our images, but that's it. No like complicated, just very straightforward. We click next, put it to a little location here like desktop, export, and we're done. Now I did mention that we would talk about what workflows are. So if we go over to 3 dots, click on more workflows, you'll see that we have essentially a bunch of presets, but they're called workflows because you can apply them to your images and kind of just have the program working for you. Let's say I want to create a new workflow. Go into here, click on it, and now we can adjust what we want our workflow to do. So let's say I wanted it to adjust colors. Let's say I always shoot with a Fujifilm. I don't use the film simulations, I shoot in RAW, and I want the same basic style adjustments for every photo that I take with that camera. I just want to throw the photos into the computer, quickly export them into JPEG, make them look good. This is what workflows is for. So let's say I really like that cinematic 001 look. I can set that. Export, I want the same export settings. So I want JPEG, 100 quality. Now I also want to increase the resolution, and I'm gonna pin this workflow to our menu, and I wanna click apply. Now this is gonna apply this to this photo, which I'll just cancel. One thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to use the presets that Photomator gives you when creating these workflows. If I go into edit this workflow, you can see that our custom one, Taha, is also here. Now where this comes in handy, if we go back, select a bunch of photos, right click, go over to workflows, and all you have to do is just click test, and it'll run that workflow on all of those photos. Now the last thing, and you probably just saw it, if we right click, you'll see edit with Pixelmator Pro. This is essentially their version of Photoshop. So if you wanted that same Lightroom Photoshop workflow, you can get all of that or have that all with this. And Pixelmator Pro is also cheaper than Photoshop. Now, like I said, you can use it across all your devices, like your Mac, your iPad, your iPhone, and if you get it synced up properly, you can actually start an edit on one device, finish it on another. But here's the thing, the features that it doesn't have, and I wrote them down because I wanted to remember, for example, presets. Presets work in Lightroom, they're great, you can download presets from your favorite creators, and you can import them onto Lightroom super easily. Everything works as an XMP file, and you just import them. XMP files everything's easier because we're accustomed to, making XMP files for presets, and everything just works. This doesn't use XMP files. So if you have presets, you'll have to convert those XMP files over to Cube or LUT files for them to open up and work in Photomator. I've already done it with my Ethereal preset pack because I wanted to use them. So if you are interested in checking out my preset pack and you're going to be using them for Photomator, I'll leave a link down below. You can check those out. The second thing is Lightroom has a bunch of modules. Like they have the library, the develop, the map, the print, that personally I never use. I just use the 2, but you are missing those extra features in Photomator. And the last thing is I love the UI. I like how it works off of photos and it syncs with iCloud to your iPad and your iPhone very easily. I will say if you're editing a ton of photos, like I'm talking, I think my Lightroom catalog right now has like 25,000 photos in there. If you're editing a lot of photos, the Lightroom catalog just makes a lot more sense. You can also organize photos a lot better using Lightroom catalog. And I think I should mention that Lightroom is a lot more accessible to a lot more people. The reason why I've been saying Mac, iPhone, iPad in this video is because they're only available for Apple devices right now, which I know sucks. So if you're not editing on Apple devices, then as of right now, it just won't work. Okay, I know what you're thinking. How cheap is it really compared to Lightroom and Capture One? So a year-long subscription to Photomator, $29. Even if you look at Adobe's photography subscription, which is their cheapest one, which is the same price as their standalone Lightroom subscription, that's $240 a year compared to $29 a year. It's like $220 worth of savings. That right there is a steal. Take that in, that for every 8 years of Photomator, you get 1 year of Adobe for the same price. But you don't even have to do that, because they actually offer lifetime subscriptions that come in at $119. $119 for a full lifetime to use Photomator. And it gets even better because they have offers that come up every once in a while for the lifetime subscription. The cheapest I've ever seen it is $79. $79 for a full lifetime. You never have to have a subscription ever to edit your photos. That's crazy to me. Like, I don't know how you beat that. I don't have a link. Again, this is not sponsored, but I will drop just like the regular link that you can download the app down below if you're interested. If you enjoyed this video or you found it helpful, make sure to drop a like on this video. It does help the video get out there to more people and helps the channel grow. If you want to see more content like this, make sure to click that subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.